Ethan and I had been married for 3 years, and he had always shown me such favoritism. That was until I accidentally found an agreement for a secret relationship hidden in his safe. I frantically confronted him, but he calmly replied, "Your dad cheated too, and your mom put up with it. I'm just having some fun, why can't you?" Later, I sold the house and car he'd given me, destroyed all evidence of our time together, and walked away. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you are listening from. After and I argued over the agreement for a secret relationship, he didn't come home for 3 days. I also stopped calling him to ask where he was, unlike before. But today, he returned in the early hours of the morning. I hadn't been feeling well today and had tossed and turned, unable to sleep. So when he came back, I was still awake. Hearing the rustling behind me, I slowly closed my eyes. Soon, I felt the bed next to me dip. Before I could react, a warm chest pressed against mine. My entire body stiffened. The embrace that once brought me such warmth now filled me only with repulsion. I shifted my body, trying to avoid his touch. But then I heard him say abruptly, "Why are you so cold?" I had an abortion today, and my body hadn't recovered. How could I not be cold? I touched the cool back of my hand and said faintly, "I don't feel well." He paused, then reached out to pull me closer. But I brushed his hand away and got out of bed. Ethan frowned, watching me. "Where are you going?" "The guest room." I wondered if my attitude had angered him. Ethan's face clouded with irritation. He said, "When are you going to mature? Do you have to throw a tantrum with me?" His words carried impatience, as if this whole matter was entirely my unreasonable behavior. A ripple stirred in my otherwise calm heart, and a bitter smile played on my lips. "In your eyes, I'm the one who's always making a scene, right?" Ethan stared at me, his dark eyes unblinking. His thin lips were pressed tight, and he didn't respond. Yet, in his silence, he agreed with my words. A cold smile touched my lips. I turned back to him. "Since we've reached a point where we disgust each other, find some time, and let's go to the courthouse to file for divorce." Hearing this, Ethan's anger in his eyes deepened. He sprang out of bed and advanced directly towards me. "Grace, I've made it very clear to you. She offers a novelty you can't. Once this phase passes, I'll naturally dismiss her. To me, you're what's most important." Hearing his shameless words, I stared wide-eyed in shock. At the same time, I laughed in anger. Did he really see us women as so cheap? Summoned when desired, then discarded like trash when no longer wanted. I trembled as I asked, "Ethan, do you have any conscience left?" Ethan seemed to lose patience, and his gaze turned more annoyed. "You have the nerve to ask me that? In 4 years of marriage, have I ever mistreated you? Why can't you just turn a blind eye? Why can everyone else accept this, but you can't?" I laughed in anger and retorted coldly, "So, according to you, can I also go out and find this fresh excitement you speak of, and we can both do as we please?" These words seemed to provoke him. Ethan abruptly grabbed my wrist, gritting his teeth. "You wouldn't dare." Meeting his furious gaze, I pulled at the corner of my mouth. "See? Even you can't accept it, so why do you demand that I do? Let's get a divorce, Ethan. I don't want to continue this anymore." He still didn't agree to the divorce. After giving me a long, hard look, he slammed the door and left. I collapsed onto the bed, a wave of desolation washing over me as I looked at the familiar layout of the room. Earlier this year, my father, who was considered a model husband, cheated. The woman he was seeing outside, heavily pregnant, showed up at our house, demanding that my parents divorce. The commotion made everyone in the neighborhood aware of what was happening. My mother had spent most of her life with him, it was impossible she hadn't noticed. Yet, she chose to endure it. I had witnessed their loving moments, and I had also seen my father hit my mother to protect his mistress. I nearly broke down then. It was Ethan who came and handled everything. He held me tightly, his voice unsteady, constantly reassuring me, "I'm here, there's nothing to fear." From that day on, he became my source of security. He would report to me no matter where he went. Even when dining with friends, he'd make a video call just to put my mind at ease. But this very man, behind my back, was supporting a woman 3 years younger than me. If I hadn't had a sudden urge to clean the home office that day, would he have hidden it from me forever? My vision blurred, my eyes ached, and a dull pain started in my lower abdomen. I clutched my stomach in agony, the intense pain made it difficult even to walk. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my phone on the nightstand. Instinctively, I called Ethan. But after one ring, then two, the cold, mechanical voice on the phone slowly turned into a busy signal. Gritting my teeth, I immediately called 911. The excruciating pain, however, became unbearable, and I passed out. When I woke again, my nostrils were filled with the unpleasant scent of disinfectant. I turned my head and saw Ethan glaring at me, his face dark. Deep anger permeated his presence, as if he could rush over and strangle me at any moment. Seeing me awake, his inky black eyes twitched slightly. Enveloped in immense rage, he gritted his teeth and asked, "You aborted our child?" Facing his fury, I remained composed. I cleared my dry throat and softly hummed an affirmation. "How could you abort him? That was my child too." Uncharacteristically, he became upset about this matter. In 4 years of marriage, he had never once asked me about having children. Even when his parents urged me to conceive, he would always interject, "We're still young, there's no rush for children right now." So, I had always assumed he disliked children. "Answer me, Grace." Listening to his furious roar, I calmly said, without expending any effort, "Because I think your mother was right, bad traits can be inherited. I don't want my child to be like their father." Ethan's body stiffened at my words, and the expression on his face turned grim. Angrily, he kicked the nearby chair. The chair, unable to bear the force, toppled to the floor with a loud crash. My heart lurched in fear, and I pressed my dry lips together. Ethan laughed, a bitter sound, and repeated, "Grace, you're quite something." Whether I was quite something or not, I only knew I was exhausted. I had no desire to argue with him further, so I simply closed my eyes. I don't know how long passed, but the hospital room was silent. When I opened my eyes again, I was alone. With help, my mother received a significant portion of assets during her divorce. Now, she was using that money to travel and clear her mind. In this city, the only close friend I had left was Chloe. After resting for a while, I contacted her. If I was going to get a divorce, I needed to be decisive. Chloe rushed over, and before she could even sit down, I said, "Chloe, can you do me a favor?" "A favor? And why are you in the hospital, by the way?" I told her everything that had happened recently, in painstaking detail. Chloe fell silent after hearing my story. When my father first cheated, she had advised me not to tell Ethan. She feared that those wounds might one day become a sword to pierce me. But I was too foolish, I didn't heed her warning and relied on him completely. So, the sword I had personally handed over ultimately became a boomerang, striking back at me. It's too late for anything I say now, but I support your decision. A man whose heart has changed is like spoiled milk, he should be torn apart and thrown away. I gave a faint smile. So, I'll have to trouble you during this time. Trouble? Don't be silly. When I bought my house, I set aside a room for you. You can move in any time. With her assurance, I finally felt at ease. After 2 days of rest in the hospital, I returned home. Without pausing to rest, I searched for every single item Ethan had given me. Just as he said, he had never mistreated me. The jewelry and clothes he gave me were always the finest. He would also bring me various thoughtfully prepared gifts every time he traveled for business. Now, as I sorted through them, I realized some clothes still had their tags attached. I mechanically organized the gifts. But then I paused, finding a thick stack of envelopes. Pink envelopes, filled with Ethan's boundless love for me. Undoubtedly, his love for me was also generous. From the moment we officially became a couple, he had been documenting everything about us. These thick stacks of envelopes were proof. I suppressed the flood of memories and took the envelopes downstairs. "Martha, could you give me a lighter?" Martha, who was cleaning, looked confused but still found me a lighter. I took the envelopes and the lighter to the flower bed in the courtyard. The flower bed was filled with red roses I had planted myself. They were beautiful and dazzling in the sunlight. I composed myself and lit an envelope with the lighter. Then, without hesitation, I tossed the burning envelope into the flower bed. The raging flames, like endless fury, illuminated the surroundings. Martha's face turned pale at the sight. She rushed out, frantically slapping her knees. "Madam, what are you doing? Things that aren't necessary to keep, they're just an eyesore." Whether it was memories or people, it was all the same. I coldly watched the burning flames, seeing the beautiful flower bed destroyed before my eyes. But I had no regrets. Ethan only knew that my mother had endured many years in a difficult marriage, hesitating to get a divorce. But he didn't know that my mother and I are fundamentally different. I wouldn't tolerate any impurity. After all this, I hired a cleaning company. They cleaned the house inside and out. Not a single trace of my life remained. Martha's attempts to persuade me were futile, so she called Ethan instead. I overheard him coldly say, "Let her do whatever she wants. Don't tell me anything about her anymore." I was right there when she made the call. I heard every word he said clearly. Thankfully, I had made up my mind to divorce. I wouldn't be hurt by his words or actions anymore. Next, I packed my luggage and moved to Chloe's house. Ethan also began to act without restraint, openly appearing at various events with his mistress. Before this, I was the only one who accompanied him to parties. So, because of this change, many people speculated that our marriage was in trouble. When told me about these things, I was still negotiating prices with a buyer for a luxury bag. Hearing her words, I remained indifferent. But she became anxious. Are you really selling all the bags and jewelry Ethan gave you? What else? I can't leave this marriage empty-handed. He was unwilling to divorce now. If things went as expected, I would proceed with legal action for a forced divorce. If it got ugly, I might end up with nothing but a divorce certificate. I hadn't worked in 4 years, and if I didn't have money to fall back on, how would I survive in this society? You're really clear-headed about all this, Chloe praised with relief. But I never would have imagined Ethan cheating. He used to love you so much. What is love, anyway? Life is long, who can guarantee they'll love one person forever? As I said this, I felt a rare sense of release. My father's situation was a prime example. He used to love my mother so much, he couldn't bear for her to cook or see her suffer or get tired, always doting on her like a princess. But in the end, he said, you can't provide me emotional support. At home, I feel like a slave with no dignity. Ty. The man who once couldn't bear to say a harsh word to her had, for another woman, physically assaulted her. Perhaps, this was the common bad trait of men. Chloe, what truly broke my heart wasn't his cheating. It was what he said, your dad cheated too, and your mom put up with it. I'm just having some fun, why can't you? My upbringing shouldn't be an excuse for his moral depravity. Chloe flew into a rage at my words. How can he be such a scumbag? He's shameless and tries to drag others down with him. Why doesn't he just die? I shrugged indifferently. Because of the two of them, I learned a lesson. Only by letting go of everything can you truly live freely. I deleted all of Ethan's contact information. I completely avoided anything related to him. But I never expected the police to show up at my door one day. Ms. Grace, your husband, Ethan, reported you missing. If you're all right, please go home. Your husband is still looking everywhere for you. Hearing the police officer's words, I was completely taken aback. Neighbors peeked their heads out to gawk, and countless eyes fixed on me. Under pressure, I reluctantly agreed, I'll go back. I'm truly sorry for the trouble. Then let's go now, we can give you a ride. I was forced to return home. Ethan, whom the police officer kept saying was looking for me, was now sitting sullenly on the sofa. Beside him was a woman, impeccably dressed. It was Lily, his mistress, whom he had recently been flaunting publicly. You're really something, playing the runaway wife with me? Before I could say anything, Ethan's cold voice drifted over. My gaze shifted from Lily's face. You're not bad either, you've already brought her home. Lily, realizing she had been mentioned, nervously stood up. Ms. Grace, please don't be angry. I'll leave right away. What she did had nothing to do with me. I didn't care in the slightest. Ethan, however, gave me a displeased look, then turned to Lily and said, it's getting late, it's not SA. Fate to go back now. I'll have Martha prepare a guest room for you. Then, he called Martha. He asked Martha to prepare a room for Lily and also reminded her to find a set of my unworn pajamas for Lily. Martha paused, glanced awkwardly at me, and said, Sir, there's nothing left of Madam's belongings in the house. Ethan evidently hadn't noticed this. His gaze swept across the living room, and the look he gave me was complex. I met his gaze without fear. He seemed to sense my resolve, and a flicker of irritation crossed his face. Then called George to take her back. Hearing this, Lily, who had been timid towards me moments ago, now showed a hint of arrogance on her pale face. I had no interest in engaging in female rivalry with her and turned to leave, but quickly stepped forward and grabbed my arm. This is your home. Where are you going? I stared into his eyes and said, word for word, this isn't my home. He subtly increased the force of his grip. A faint pain shot through my arm, and I frowned slightly. After a long moment, he seemed to compromise. He sighed deeply. Grace, stop making a scene. I'll have someone send her back right away. Lily's face instantly turned ashen, and she forced a smile. Mr. Ethan, no need to trouble yourself. I can go back on my own. She looked like a wilting lily, swaying precariously as she stood. Yet she pretended to be calm, taking her bag as if to leave. I noticed a fleeting look of indecision on his face. Annoyed, I pushed his hand away. Do you two have to be so sickening? Ethan, I'm not arguing with you, but that doesn't mean I accept your disgusting behavior. I'm just too lazy to bother. If you have any conscience left, don't try to sicken me. I came back with the police only because I didn't want Chloe to be gossiped about by her neighbors. It didn't mean I had forgiven him. Ms. Grace, I'm truly sorry. I know my presence has caused you trouble. I'll leave immediately. She bowed deeply to me, then turned and ran out of house. Ethan's expression shifted slightly, and indecision flickered in his eyes. I raised my eyelids, saying lazily, "It's so late. It's not safe for a young girl to run out alone. Aren't you going after her?" He hesitated for 2 seconds, then lowered his voice, saying softly, "She's still just a child at heart. Don't let her bother you. I'll take her back first, and we can talk when I return." With that, he grabbed his jacket from the sofa and rushed out. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. Just then, Chloe texted me, "How are things on your end? Did give you any trouble?" I paused for 2 seconds. "No, but I'm feeling pretty down right now." This house was no longer clean, it reeked everywhere of Lily's faint jasmine scent. If it were any other smell, I wouldn't be so sensitive. But unfortunately, her perfume was the scent I disliked most. Chloe misunderstood my meaning and said, "You're still upset over that scumbag? Don't make me scold you. Oh, by the way, a prominent design academy in New is specifically recruiting students this year. Are you interested?" My university major was fashion design. Although I hadn't worked in these 4 years, I enjoyed making clothes for myself in my free time. Ethan even specifically built a design room for me to freely create. It was a pity, though, that my works could only be appreciated by myself. Because the Ethan's family didn't like a daughter-in-law who sought public attention. Now that I was getting a divorce, I naturally didn't need to worry about anyone's opinion anymore. Of course, I'll sign up right away. After hearing the news, I didn't hesitate and submitted my recent sketches to the school for special admissions screening. I also stopped staying at Chloe's house and booked a room at a hotel near her place. After all, there was no one or nothing left in this city that I cherished, so there was no need to buy a house here. While waiting for the results, I consulted a lawyer about the divorce. I originally wanted to file for divorce directly, but the lawyer said that without evidence of irreconcilable differences, it would only lead to mediation. It seemed that to get a quick divorce, I would have to get Ethan to agree. I didn't want to see his sickening face again, so I had the lawyer send him the divorce papers on my behalf. When saw the divorce papers already signed by me, he flew into a rage. He desperately tried to contact me, and when he couldn't reach me, he went to Chloe. "Where's Grace? Tell her to come out." His face was furious, grimly standing outside the door, his eyes fixed on the interior of the house. Chloe stood blocking the door, not letting him in, her face full of disdain when she saw him. "She's not here. Go look elsewhere for her." "Impossible. She has nowhere else to go but here," he said with certainty. I was in my room watching a variety show and heard everything clearly. I pulled at the corner of my mouth, giving a self-deprecating laugh. He was right. The home that once sheltered me was gone. In this city, the only person I could rely on was Chloe. Chloe scoffed. "Ethan, you know that, don't you? Have you forgotten the promise you made to her on your wedding day?" Ethan's face stiffened, his eyes darkening. "This is a matter between my wife and me, it has nothing to do with you. And don't you forget, this is my house, and it has nothing to do with you either. If you dare to trespass, don't blame me for being unwelcoming." Ethan, certain I was inside, tried to force his way in. Just then, Daniel, Chloe's boyfriend, arrived. Seeing the scene, he rushed forward without hesitation and started fighting with Ethan. Chloe anxiously tried to stop them. "Stop fighting, both of you." Unable to separate them, she grabbed her phone and called security. Hearing the commotion, I also rushed out to intervene. Bud's and my strength was like fighting a losing battle compared to theirs. Soon, 2 security guards arrived. They systematically pulled the 2 men apart. Ethan regularly exercised, and his blows were heavy and fast. Daniel was inevitably at a disadvantage, getting a busted face. "Ethan, are you insane?" I couldn't help but yell angrily. His angry dark eyes fixed on me, and he gritted his teeth. "If you had come out sooner, would this have happened?" I laughed in anger. He was always like this. Unable to recognize his own mistakes. Always pushing the blame onto others. "Don't try your emotional manipulation here. Grace isn't going back with you. If you have any decency, just sign the divorce papers and stop being so sickening." Chloe was equally defiant, shielding me behind her and glaring at him. This matter, after all, needed to be resolved. I sighed deeply and patted her shoulder. "Chloe, you go take him to get his wounds treated. I'll talk to Ethan." Chloe snorted at him. Then she said, "All right, you two talk. If he tries to lay a hand on you, just yell, and I'll call the police immediately. I smiled faintly and turned towards the elevator entrance. Too much commotion here would attract neighbors to gawk. I wouldn't be staying here long, so their pointing fingers didn't bother me. But was different, this was the home she had painstakingly worked for. Ethan remained silent the entire time after coming out. It wasn't until we exited the elevator that he said, "My car is outside the neighborhood. Let's go home." I turned, looking at him coldly. "Do you think there's any need for us to go back to how things were?" "Ethan, didn't you expect this day the moment you cheated?" "Grace, I know this was my fault. I'm willing to compensate you in any way, if only you'd give me another chance." A rare look of hurt appeared on Ethan's face. His eyes held a cautious plea. He thought that by lowering his stance and coaxing me, I would continue to be foolish and go back to how things were. Unfortunately, I wasn't someone who would settle. "Then let me ask you this, if you throw something dirty into the trash, would you CK it up again as if nothing happened?" Ethan's body trembled slightly, his thin lips pressed together. His deep, dark eyes held an emotion I couldn't decipher. "Even if I dismiss her and love you wholeheartedly, you still wouldn't forgive me, would you?" His voice choked as he said this, and a flicker of wavering showed on his face. He had indeed considered dismissing her. But it was only a thought. If he truly wanted to end that relationship, he wouldn't be asking me this. He would be proving it to me with actions. "You know, my biggest motivation for maintaining this marriage came from your love. But now, you've made me unable to feel that love anymore. Our being together has become a compromise. You also know what kind of person I despise most, yet you didn't hesitate to become exactly that." Given this, how could he have the nerve to ask me to forgive and forget? "No. I know I was wrong, Grace. I love you. Give me a chance, I'll prove it to you." I smiled without speaking. I didn't believe a single word he said. And he seemed truly intent on proving it to me. After returning home, he cleaned up the ravaged flower bed. He wanted to personally replant those vibrant flowers. Martha sent me photos of him meticulously clearing trash from the flower bed and said, "Madam, sir still loves you. Divorce is a big decision, please reconsider. Don't do anything you'll regret." Regret? The answer was no. I only knew that if I couldn't be resolute this time, my future self would be the one to send me to hell. I ignored her messages. I simply pretended not to see them. I had caused Chloe a lot of trouble, and to prevent Ethan from finding me at her house again, I returned to the hotel. With nothing to do, I brainstormed new ideas. I had always dreamed of opening my own fashion studio, to bring my independent brand into the public eye. Now that the opportunity was right in front of me, I naturally couldn't give up. I had sold many luxury goods and accumulated a substantial amount of money, enough for me to focus on my studies in the US. I had just finished planning how to use the money when my mother called. Her voice on the other end of the phone was no longer weary but full of joy. "Grace, I'm planning to return home next week to see you all. What gifts would you like?" "No need. Please don't come back," I said abruptly. My mother paused, then became anxious. "Grace, did I do something to displease you?" Hearing this, I suddenly realized my tone had been problematic. I quickly said, "No, it's not that. I just think there's no need for you to come back. Ethan and I are getting a divorce, and I don't plan to stay here either." My mother had been subjected to years of emotional drain from my father, making her personality cautious and fearful of displeasing others. My decisive choice to divorce was because I didn't want to follow in her footsteps. After all, I had never done anything terrible in my life. I wasn't a bad person, so why couldn't I find happiness? My mother fell silent at my words. Then she cautiously asked, "Did my divorce from your father affect you too?" "No, don't overthink it. Our relationship wasn't working, divorce was inevitable." My mother didn't believe me and wanted to press further. Thinking she would find out eventually, I simply confessed everything. This time, she couldn't find any reason to persuade me to abandon the idea of divorce. She choked up, her voice unsteady. "Grace, you're braver than I am." Her totally off-topic remark immediately made me understand what she meant. If she had been as decisive as I was back then, she wouldn't have suffered years of emotional drain and nearly lost herself. I smiled. "It's not too late for you to realize that now. Since you're traveling, enjoy yourself. Once I'm settled, you can come and visit me." We chatted for a while before hanging up. As I was thinking about washing up and resting, I suddenly saw an email from the US that had arrived 3 minutes ago. Filled with excitement, I tremblingly opened the email. The next second, a triumphant scream escaped my lips. I had been accepted. The email from the school was an admission letter, stating the reporting date. I read it over 3 times before slowly accepting the fact. I smiled deeply, filled with joy, and drifted off to sleep. The next afternoon, I had an early appointment with Chloe to get our nails done. Seeing my beaming smile, she genuinely expressed her happiness for me. Before, when I asked you to come with me for a manicure, you weren't willing. Now you're more eager than I am. Because I don't have to worry about anyone else's opinion anymore, I replied candidly. I used to love beauty as well. But's mother didn't approve. To please his family, I had to conform to their standards of a good daughter-in-law. But now, I was just me. No one had the right to dictate how I lived. I told the nail technician about the design I liked. When I looked up again, I saw Lily, her face pale. She looked as if she had lost her soul, her steps faltering, wandering aimlessly. I frowned and averted my gaze. But she noticed my presence. She pulled herself together and pushed the door open. Her bloodless lips were frighteningly dry, and her voice was ethereal. Miss Grace, can we talk? There was truly nothing for me to discuss with her. I was about to refuse when I saw her look at me, full of pleading. Fine. You have 3 minutes. I slowly stood up. Chloe, you go ahead, I'll be right back. Chloe had no friendly feelings towards Lily and said sarcastically, all right, but you should still keep your distance from her, lest you catch some dirty disease. Lily's already pale face became even whiter. She seemed to want to smile but couldn't. A short while later, Lily and I arrived at a coffee shop not far from the nail salon. A waiter came over, and I instinctively ordered 2 coffees. But she weakly interrupted me. Just a glass of plain water for me, please. I can't drink coffee HT now. I raised an eyebrow, not paying much attention to her words. Lily explained, I just had a miscarriage. Hearing this, I looked at her in shock. Was it Ethan's? She didn't speak but managed a strained smile. This must be karma for me. I compromised myself for money, becoming his secret mistress. Before, I was too fanciful. After you two argued and talked about divorce, he started taking me to various events, and I thought he was slowly developing feelings for me. But in the end, he personally shattered her dream. Lily smiled bitterly. He said I wasn't even worth a strand of your hair, and told me not to have such fanciful dreams. A few days ago, I found out I was pregnant. I went for a checkup, and the doctor said my uterine lining was thin, making it difficult to carry a child. If I lost this baby, I might lose the chance to be a mother in the future. Her words shocked me completely. Even with the doctor's warning, she still miscarried. I somewhat didn't understand what she was thinking. Lily seemed to sense my confusion and continued, I originally planned to keep this child and raise it myself, but he found out about it. He said only you could bear his children, so he took me to the hospital for the procedure. Now, not only was the child gone, but she had almost lost her own life. So, why are you telling me all this? She gave a faint smile. I just want to remind you not to easily believe a man's lies. I'm leaving, but there will be a second woman. You're a good person, don't let a man ruin you. What makes you think I'm a good person? Because other women, when they find out their husbands cheated, immediately confront the other woman and cause a scene. You didn't. You even ignored my existence entirely. It was you who allowed me to retain my last shred of dignity. My not making a scene was also, in a way, to protect my own dignity. As soon as her words fell, Ethan, who seemed to have heard the news from somewhere, rushed over. Lily, how dare you come looking for her? Ethan's scolding rained down on her, his face impossibly dark. Lily stiffened at his fright, not daring to breathe. Mr. Ethan. Her timid demeanor made me frown. I raised a hand to pinch the bridge of my nose, then slowly stood up. Ethan, is this all you're capable of? Ethan looked at me flustered, stammering, Grace, I impatiently cut him off. All right, no need for more nonsense. Did you come here because you've decided to sign? His face turned pale, but he still clenched his jaw. I won't agree to a divorce. Don't even think about it. This outcome was expected. I wasn't surprised and was too lazy to argue with him, so I picked up my bag to leave. Then come find me when you're ready to sign. With those words, I walked away gracefully. Yesterday, I consulted with a lawyer again. After 3 years of legal separation, a divorce petition can be filed. Since he was unwilling to divorce now, I would wait until then to file the petition. It would save me the effort and argument with him. After resolving this troublesome matter, I sought out Chloe again. In the afternoon, after getting our beautiful nails done, we went out for some serious shopping that evening. We even did all the things I couldn't do before. Even couldn't help but exclaim how frightening revenge shopping could be. To avoid Ethan tracking me down, I used to switch hotels every day while I was in the country. Once my visa was processed, I didn't hesitate to book a plane ticket to the US. The day before my flight, Chloe said she wanted to celebrate my new beginning. She specially gave me a good luck charm with a beautiful blessing. Wear this, she said, it'll keep you safe and sound. Don't forget me when you're abroad. I'll be here waiting for the day you return triumphant. As finished speaking, she choked with sobs. It reminded me of my wedding day. She had cried her eyes out then too. Anyone who didn't know would have thought someone had stolen her Oni. I hugged her, laughing. When I make enough money, I'll buy a huge house and let you live in a big place. Okay. It's a deal. It's a deal. That night, we both slept soundly, and even our dreams were sweet. Because once today was over, a brand new life would be waiting for me. On the day of my flight, the sun shone brightly outside. I felt refreshed and invigorated. Sitting in the car, gazing at the sky, the future I envisioned seemed right before my eyes. Chloe drove, chatting with me periodically. Suddenly, I noticed a slightly familiar license plate number closely following behind us. My heart skipped a beat, and I looked back. But the car was gone. I returned my gaze and continued chatting with her. After a long journey, filled with both our expectations, I arrived in an unfamiliar country. The school had a dormitory, but I worried about conflicts with roommates, so I didn't apply to live on campus. Instead, I chose a studio apartment not far from the school. On my first day, I busied myself cleaning the place that had been empty for a long time. By the time I finished tidying everything and finally rested, 2 hours had already passed. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the sofa to relax. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Chloe's call. I answered happily, I've arrived. The place is all cleaned up, and I'll just, before I could finish, a silent Chloe said gravely, Grace, Ethan. He got into a car accident. My eyebrows subtly twitched, and I licked my dry lips. It's not my fault. Why are you telling me this? After saying that, I suddenly remembered what Lily had said earlier. She got her comeuppance and lost the right to be a mother forever. So, Ethan's car accident, was this his karma? The doctors issued a critical condition notice during his rescue attempt, and he's now in the ICU. After all, you're still his legal wife, and his parents are looking for you everywhere. Do you want to take some time to come back? No, there's no point. Since I chose to go, I shouldn't drag things out. That's probably for the best. He got into the accident on his way to find you. If his parents find you, they'll definitely make trouble for you. Hearing this, I fell silent. I believe that once love is forgotten, it's time to let go. What's the point of him wanting both things? Chloe, I don't want to hear any more news about him. From the moment I decided to divorce, we were destined to be strangers. Okay, live well there and take care of yourself. After a few more words, she hung up the phone. After that, many unknown numbers called me, one after another. I answered one. It was Ethan's mother. As soon as I picked up, she started cursing me out, saying I had harmed Ethan and that she would send me to go to prison. Her words were meaningless, so I just said whatever and hung up. From then on, I refused to answer any unknown numbers. A week later, Chloe texted me again. Ethan, who had been in the ICU, passed away at 2 in the morning after rescue efforts proved futile. When I heard the news, I had just been praised by my professor, so my heart felt no ripple. According to his assistant, he left half of his estate to you. Before he died, he also asked his assistant to pass on a message, saying, if he were given another chance, he wouldn't do such a foolish thing. What's the point of saying all this now? There's no turning back time in this world. I hung up the phone. I looked up at the vast sky, controlled my expression, and managed a faint smile. The professor walked out of the classroom. Seeing me, he said in broken Chinese, it will all pass. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.